There they are. The cutest couple in America. It's all facelifts and pearly whites over in the Democrat Party. Joe Biden is the projected winner of the 2020 presidential election. That's funny because I guess the Supreme Court or whatever court, I imagine that would be the court that's handling the disputes over, dare I say, voter fraud. Not that it's for sure true, but we go over to Donald J. Trump on Twitter. Every single thing Donald J. Trump tweets, this claim about election fraud is disputed. This claim about election fraud is disputed. This claim about election fraud is disputed. Really? Like, okay, you're gonna wrap that? Fine. I'm all right with that. It's stupid, I think, whatever. But why isn't this? This claim is da 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 da. Why Twitter can make their claims? Joe Biden is a projected winner of the da 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 da. You know what I mean? It's okay because the media, we as the media, are telling you. The capital M echo chamber media is telling you, so it's okay. Don't be afraid. But you come over here. The president of your country, whether you like him or not, I mean, this is the president of your country. Just in case you can't make up your own mind, this claim about election fraud is disputed. Of course it is. Everything's disputed. Twitter itself is disputed. Twitter is probably more about dispute than it is about anything. Give me a freaking break. We're Americans, and I shouldn't have to tell Twitter that, right? I know Twitter ain't listening. It's out tweeting somewhere, but you shouldn't have to say what's up, right? Right? They should, they were made in America, damn it. And they should know it's about free speech, and we don't need click-wrap censorship, If we needed that crap, we'd be like morning cartoons or something. We're not. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, all right? So yeah, I'm just pissed. I'm pissed about it. I'm not mad. I'm pissed, though. So I'll just read Donald Trump's tweets. Where it mattered, they stole what they had to steal. Can he not make that accusation, even if I think he's full of shit? You know what I mean? Can he not make that accusation? You gotta wonder. I mean, give me a break. I log into Twitter. I have to log in as incognito mode now because my account is like not allowed on Twitter. I'm 86th. The tweet monster. If I go in there, they say my account's suspended and all this stuff. They won't even let me like adjust certain settings, and I'm better off going in anonymous. Even if I log in, I am anonymous. I'm not allowed to give something a thumbs up or nothing. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm deplatformed, and I contested it. I'm like, hey, something's up. It was just asking me for my phone number, of which I didn't have one at the time. I didn't have a cell phone number. I had a landline number but they think, I was told once that just a couple months back that I gave somebody a phone number, our phone number, and said, hey, warning, it's a landline, because I think, all you people, I didn't say all this, but, think that, like, you can just start texting, then you get pissed off when you don't get a response back from that text, so I'm letting you know it's a regular phone number. And she looked at me and was like, you're the first person under 80 I've heard of with a landline. And I said, get used to it, bitch. No, I didn't say that. But, I don't know. I thought that was rude. It's probably true, but still, it's like, you mean I'm the first person under 80 who remembers the Holocaust and tracking and tracing people and all that crap? And that we're not going to do that? We're not going to have a little fucking dingleberry for them to freaking track us by? Oh, no. Whatever. We believe that these people are thieves. The big city machines are corrupt. This was a stolen election. Besides, Pollster and Britain wrote this morning that this clearly was a stolen election, that this is impossible to imagine that Biden outran Obama in some of these states. Probably not in some of them for sure. That does raise mad suspicion, but maybe in a few, because they've hated on this dude, right? They've hated on Donald Trump. He's like so many combined past presidents in one. So I'll give him credit for that. Like, he's Jimmy Carter, who I admired, but now looking back, I've got some questions about Carter. But I was just an infant when he was around. But Jimmy Carter, I believe he was president during I Can't Drive 55 era, and that just always seemed like whatever, that was the non-existent past to me. But after seeing this whole COVID-y thing come around, and the way that all these restrictions, these arbitrary, like seemingly left-wing-ish kind of restrictions went down, I look back at Carter on the Can't Drive 55 era, and I thought, I wonder if that was a similar, it seems like it could have been a very abstractly similar parallel where it's just like, oh, you're going to arbitrarily drop the speed limit by 10 miles an hour and all these states have to agree or they don't get funding and da 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 da. So it's just like, okay, I think I'm starting to see a little more of that picture now. But other than that, Carter, in my opinion, is a very easy to admire president if you actually look at the facts, but he was trashed in the media and only got one term, right? He did crazy peace deals in the Middle East that were unprecedented of biblical proportions. What's Donald Trump doing? Crazy peace deals in the Middle East that are virtually unreported of biblical proportion. I mean, whatever. You don't have to believe in the Bible to agree with that. I don't think that's just the truth. It's a fact. Look it up. Look at the deals that he's brokered. Dude is a badass businessman. I mean, he is whatever. If you don't have thick enough skin for him, I'd say try and get over it. Just start looking into him. He's actually a pretty kind person compared to what the media stacks him up to be and all the out of context stuff they do about him. If you look into it, anybody, for one, you'd be hard pressed to find anything where he's really rude. If you think you have found something, I suggest go looking at that clip in context, not out of context like it's often displayed on the surface, and then compare it to other clips, and stuff like that, other pieces of his personality, and see if you can't prove that to be pretty much false, like him imitating somebody disabled in a bad way or something. The thing was with that was that he was obviously just making fun of the person as if they weren't disabled is what the thing was, and they tried to make it out like he was making fun of the person for being disabled. So to me that showed, because you can find other clips, I just did this in my last little rant cast thing, but you can find other clips where he's mimicking people before and after and during the same exact speech in virtually the same exact way. So it's just the way that Donald Trump always, even himself, he mocked in that same way, talking about things he doesn't like. It was just a way that he does this woo thing whenever he talks about something that somebody, including himself, doesn't like. And they tried to play it out. They're like, oh, if we freeze frame it right here, he happened to be talking about this disabled reporter, and we can freeze frame it, and it looks like he's mimicking this reporter's disability in some way. And it was just so stupid. It was so stupid for them to do that. And that's one of 10 zillion things they do, And that, even as distantly and not being truly guilty of that as he is, that was one of the closest things to true that they've ever said or done about him. You know what I mean? Just to show you how far off they are on that guy. That's what made me change my mind this year. Like, in January, I was like, give me a break. I have no... I was still like not trying to hate on Trump, but I wait till there's a sufficient amount of evidence to make my decisions. But I was already leery, with the bombing the guy in Iran thing and all that stuff. I was just like, whoa, this is... And then he was the first one to start locking things down over here in the States, as far as like banning travel to China and then parts of Europe and stuff like that. And I was just like, whoa, I am not cool with this stuff at all. I was not cool with any Trump things. But now when you start... And from there, of course, the domino effect happened, and then it was time to pick up the pieces and start looking at what's really going on. And that's when my mind started changing. And now looking back in hindsight, all these people are trying to blame that he didn't react fast enough to the whole COVID thing. And it's like, dude did. I felt like he reacted way too quick. He reacted like plus or minus a month before everybody else did. And I felt like that was too much too soon. But, then finally the Democrats reacted, and then they went overboard. And they still haven't let up, right? of course, they're like, no, power grab. Oh, yeah, okay. And they all did that. And then they turn around and blame, it's that same old story of like everything these Democrats do, these Democrats. I would like to think there were like some legit Democrats in the past at some point, but whatever, that was way before my time. Carter, maybe. Um, and, they're just all guilty of the stuff they point the finger at him for. Racism, locking down too late or whatever, if that's even a real thing, if that even mattered to begin with, which I don't think it really did. And I personally, in my dumb opinion, I think we should be going for herd immunity. We should not be stretching this out. What's stretching it out going to do? Allow the thing to mutate? Let's get the fuck over it. Give me a break. Wow. Come on, this doesn't, in the mass, like, the science behind it, it's mass, the good mass, the N95 kind of mass are 0.3 microns and bigger particles, So we're talking about fine dust, smoke, pollen, bacteria, large pieces of bacteria. When you get into small viral particles like corona and aerosols, those masks do virtually nothing. You could argue that they cause more harm than good even. And especially the cloth masks and stuff like that. Those are just definitely more harm than good. They are covering your face, creating a darkened petri dish where you can't get fresh air and UV light. So you're just creating a breeding ground for the virus. You're constantly touching that spit rag, Might feel dryish when you touch it, but that thing's loaded with moisture particles. So all that crap, if you think like, well, it's filtering something, it's got to be. Well, it is. It's filtering a small percentage of viral particles, mostly large spit and, visible, even if they're very small visible particles. But, whatever marginal amount of viral particles it's catching is completely negated once you touch it. And completely negated when you consider the petri dish against your face. And completely negated when you consider that is only going to promote. Watch when Biden gets in, if he does. God forbid, but if, God willing, whatever, God's Yahweh and Yahweh Yeshua are going to do their work, and prophecy comes true through the evilest motherfuckers in the world, Go back and show me a time that a prophecy came true, besides like something that somebody else outside of a specific biblical character would have had to do. That, even if you look at the Savior, Yahweh Yeshua is his real name. If you look at him, he was murdered, he was murdered. So that wasn't good people doing good things, was it? Any establishments that carry out any of these prophetic things to come throughout history are done by bad people. So, that's just the way it is. And if those tables turn, that's just the way it goes. So we're all along for the ride, ultimately. An error in the unofficial results from Michigan County was caused by accidental human error, Michigan Department of State reports. So this was one of the things in like 4U or news or trending or whatever, over in the Twitter/Explorer thing. And I thought, wow, they're always, every time I come through there, they're always just trying to like defend something like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this liberal state, You never see this for like, whatever, or you never see anything that lifts an eyebrow in Trump's favor or in the right wing, so to speak, conservative favor or whatever. And it's just like really never. It's like always the left is always right and the right is always wrong. Like, really? I don't know. And then occasionally, very occasionally, they'll do something neutral. It's like, okay, the right can be neutral very occasionally at best, and that's it, And then even more rare and few and far between, the liberals might almost do something not cool, but it's still neutral. It's not bad. It's neutral, like, see if any of these sidebars, Joe Biden's projected winner, so that's almost like neutral as he's projected. They don't want to get accused of being that false media, even though they are, in my opinion. The erroneous reporting of unofficial results from Antrim County in Michigan on Friday was the result of, quote, accidental error on the part of Antrim County Clerk. According to a statement released by the Michigan Department of State, the statement said, quote, the software did not cause a misallocation of votes. It was a result of user human error. The error in Michigan was unrelated to a computer glitch that temporarily halted counting in Gwinnett County, Georgia on Friday night, according to ProPublica reporter Jessica Huseman and CNN reporter Holmes LeBrand. So, for one thing, this is journalism reporting on journalism. This is journalism using journalistic sources. So, that's about as far as that goes for accuracy. Not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that doesn't answer any questions. You know what I mean? Especially CNN. Freaking communist news network. Give me a break. You know? And just like Fox is the faux news network. They're all a bunch of... I don't trust any of them. But anyway, that's their whole thing of them defending, just stepping up to defend what a Joe Biden presidency could mean for UK, Ireland, and Brexit. Look at that picture. Doesn't that just look like a communist kind of like picture? And not the good kind of communalism communist, but like freaking... I want to make a little video clip and make Biden have his whole like inaugural procession thing and have like him up on a podium like that, and then clips of China rolling in with all their, you know, their whole communist militant looking regime. With Biden the projected winner of the US presidential election, projected according to whom? According to the media, thoughts have turned to the UK-EU deal, which is being negotiated. One of the sticking points is how the UK-Ireland border will comply with any or no deal, as well as maintaining the terms of the Good Friday or Belfast Agreement. And this is the thing I've brought up before, where it's like they do what would a Joe Biden presidency, or what a Joe Biden presidency could mean for the UK, Ireland, and Brexit. And that's like basically the preface to an answer, right? When it should be question mark. What could a Joe Biden presidency mean for UK, Ireland, and Brexit? Maybe even a question mark, but at least proposed as a sentence to where... Because that's what they do. They don't, you know, with Biden, thoughts have turned to this deal. One of the sticking points is this, and no information. Let's see what people are tweeting about it. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, really? That is not news. That's, okay, everything's backed on journalistic sources, and then on to the tweets. You know, just like, give me a break. There they are. Makes me want to puke. But that's just me. And then we got all the states, obviously hot and trending. Over here in their trending tabs, as usual. Just for prosperity purposes, I know I always gripe about this, but they're only showing tweets that they've added context to. So it's like, they're only showing trends, I mean. So it's like, okay, really? Then it's not necessarily trending. It's just, it should say curated or something. It's not trending necessarily. But over here in the news, let's see. We've got all the hot states, North Carolina, Nevada. You know, if the election's done and projected, then why are all these states still, except for Oregon, they're just saying that because they're trying to figure out where I am by my zip code. They're, you know, why are those still hot topics? Because you know your freaking algorithm's pulling them out because everybody's talking about them probably. People across the U.S. react to Biden-Harris projected victory. Yeah, whatever. Oh, COVID-19, how to protect yourself. Don't think this is going away. Don't think for a second this is going away. That's one of the things they said, they tried to say, were like, oh, you know, COVID and the riots and all that, it will all go away once the Democrats are elected. Bullshit. It's going to come back. Watch. You're going to get full-on lockdowns. Joe Biden's promised you a dark winter. It's coming. So don't think it's not. The whole Antichrist, so to speak, whatever you want to call it, beast system is on its way. It's on its way either way, I feel like, for sure. But I think it will be much more apparent under the Biden-Harris administration. Under the Trump administration, it will just sneak up on you. North Carolina, get the local updates. Da-da-da-da-da. Of course, mail voting is legal, safe, whatever, same old BS. Oh, President-elect Joe Biden will announce a COVID-19 task force. You think it's going away? You think it's going away? Kamala Harris praises black women as the backbone of our democracy during victory speech. Yeah, right. Why? Because a lot of the footage that they happened to show that was people wearing Biden Harris poll workers that shouldn't have been. According to what I understand about the laws of the polls, that you're not supposed to wear paraphernalia for either promoting either party. It's supposed to be neutral. And a lot of them were black women wearing Biden hat. At least what I saw. I'm not racist against black women or black people in particular or women in particular at all whatsoever. Try me on that one. No way. But I'm just pointing that out. Why are you going to say that? Is that why? Because you rallied them all up and to do that for you? I mean, if she can say something about black women, can I say something? But I don't even want to. I'm not trying to pick on black women. There's the vast majority of black women aren't guilty of that anyway. And a lot of them actually voted for Trump this year too. Record numbers. World leaders and celebrities are reacting to Biden and Harris' projected victory. Yeah, especially the Mexican president, right? Mexican president says he's not going to jump the gun and congratulate Biden and Harris. Mexican president, the one we're building the fence between, and that guy doesn't even want to talk bad on Trump or celebrate Biden yet. So got to think about that one. This dumbass congratulates Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but warns of hard work ahead. Can't stand her or that dude she's with. Either one of them. I mean, I really didn't have much of an opinion on them for most of their administration and stuff, but it's like, you're out of power now, go away. Either run for some political position or just preferably just go away. You're unneeded. I don't know who this guy is. He's shot and killed. Voter fraud of any kind is exceeding rare in U.S. elections, experts confirm. Right? Experts confirm, but not the Supreme Court. Not yet, anyway. So we'll see about that. And meet the newest first pets of the White House. Oh, they adopted their dog from Brazil, and it was found in the streets sharing food with starving children, and they were able to save the dog. Like some crap like that. I'm so sick of this liberal crap. It's like, for one, try me. I'm way more liberal than anybody you'll ever meet in your life. I'm so liberal, I don't fall for none of this phony bullshit. And fucking, they're going to be like, I hear people all the time here in this area I'm in where they'll be like, yeah, we adopted this dog from, Argentina or something. And it's like, really? Like, how many dogs are getting euthanized right down the street, and you got to be all virtue signaling with your dog that was saved from the North Pole and all this crap so you can have a story to tell. And, I was so blown away. All these people that I've considered myself like anti-conservative, not completely, but for like decades, I was mostly like, definitely, I would get really scared if like somebody I liked would say that, they're thinking about voting Republican or anything like that. And it just blows my mind now, because then it turned out that a lot of these people that I was mistaking as quote unquote conservatives were actually quote unquote liberals. It's like, well, no, I'm a liberal without the quotes. Like, I'm a real liberal. I'm not like some agenda liberal that like agrees with Democrats. I never vote Democrat or anything, or probably never vote Republican either, but definitely not in the past. But yeah, that was just mind-blowing. It's like, wait, and I remember there was this forum I was in that is actually like a local kind of community here, but there's like an online forum that coincides with it. And whenever the shit hit the fan at first at the beginning of the year, I was like, started talking to people in there, and like none of them agreed with my views. And I was like, whoa, I thought all those people in that forum were conservative, and it turns out they're like these what I would call like a neoliberal for lack of a better term. I was like, what a trip, These people are all like making money in the tech industry and shit like that, and then, like I'm picturing like, oh, these people are probably all Trump supporters and whoop-de-whoop, and it's like, nope, they're supposedly hardcore liberals, and it's like, what? You guys are, wow, what a strange world this is, isn't it? Because, yeah, no, you're not liberals. Get over it. Freaking neo-Nazis is what you are, most of you. And I'm not trying to accuse, they'll be the first ones to admit it. Kamala Harris's ancestral village in India celebrates her projected win. Really? Why don't you go back to India, bitch? We don't need you here. We don't need socialism here. We don't need none of that crap here. There's plenty of other places in the world that offer it. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need none of that crap. Period. End of story. And this is coming from a dude who was like, why can't we just have communism in parallel with capitalism in the past, you know? Like, I would have been totally, I was totally socialist on the really general level of like, yeah, I think big corporations should get turned in, you know, owned by the government or some type of regulation by the government and all that kind of stuff. Of course, we should have regulations at some point, right? But once you start learning about this crap, it's like socialized Medicare, or yeah, Medicare is socialized, right? But not even fully. But once you get into a social system like so-called Obamacare or whatever, stuff like that, you're locked in. You have one choice. The state becomes, you know, once they're like, get rid of privatized insurance, which even if they don't do right out the gate, it will be a domino effect and lead to no privatized insurance, which, hey, that's expensive crap, right? Like medical insurance, no matter which way you slice it, it's not a cool thing, right? So that's the thing. It's always a thing like, oh, well, we need to make sure everybody can afford it. Well, what do? You go and tax people. You fine people who can't afford it, who don't get it, you know? Like, that's just ridiculous. It's a total ridiculous system. There's real answers to this stuff. There's real answers, simple answers, not the simplest in the world, but to any seemingly complex problem, there's usually a simple answer or several simple answers to. You just keep decomposing that problem until you're at each simple facet of it. And if you don't know, you just turn it to a direct democracy vote and let the people vote for it, you know? But it's too bad, just like about a year ago to this time, I remember saying in an online forum that, you know, democracy will lead to exactly what we're at now. And I wasn't even trying to project that it would happen in 1 year. I thought it would be like a decade or two. But I knew that the masses are always dumber, you know? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that necessarily. I mean that in a way that, like, there's always more naive people, and I've been one and can still consider myself one, that just don't understand the way the world works. And it only takes a few powerful people or people in power to manipulate those naive masses, you know? So I can't think of much of a better example than now. I mean, any example would be very similar, abstractly speaking, or exactly speaking, to what we've seen here with these echo chambers and stuff like this, to where they just get a bunch of people quarantined and then they just program them and feed them these news blurbs, and they think like, how could these so many news blurbs be wrong? And then I go over here and look at these people's tweets that I'm following, and they're all echoing my same sentiments and the same sentiments of the echo chamber itself, and you know, this and that. And now all these dumb conservatives are going over to Parler or Gab or wherever, and they're going into their little echo chambers, and it's so stupid. Have you ever heard anybody talk about the island they'd like to get everybody on and blow up? Well, that's what this all effectively is they're pitting on people on all their little islands so they can effectively blow them up, because they just, you know, if you were to discover a whole new place, like, you know, we finish melting the ice caps or whatever supposedly going on there, and we move a whole bunch of people there, right? And then we just don't connect to them on the internet or communications at all, then they effectively, for the most part, don't exist, right? For anything in our immediate understanding of them. So that's what they're doing with everybody, is they, like, polarized. So the poles are a good place to use that analogy, I guess. So when these people are like, oh, you know, I'm going over to Parler now, it's like, oh, really? You're going to silence your voice? Well, it sounds like your intellectual level probably should go be silenced over there. It's too bad there's not an equal place like Twitter for people to go twit off at in the opposite direction. The thing is, Twitter's already there and it already has most people, so they've already won. They've already gone and stuck their little bird flag in the ground, and Parler will always be second rate. There'll always be less than half the people, you know. So even if everybody went over to Parler was a complete genius and everybody at Twitter wasn't, there's always going to be more people at Twitter, you know? So that's where basically, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say with that the masses will always be dumb and naive, you know? Not to say that everybody's whatever at either one, but for the sake of illustration, why vote counting is taking so long in Nevada? Now that Joe Biden is projected winner, how newspapers around the world reported the U.S. election victory for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's like they're trying to be this thing where they're like, oh, we're not saying it, but these other ones did. How they reported U.S. election victory for, you know, you can see there's careful wording there so that if somebody like me comes in, it's like, hey, where's the warning? Warning, this contains potentially unconfirmed data. The Supreme Court has opened with it, and you know, elections often aren't confirmed till you know, a month and a half out or something like that. Like nothing like that there. Or even simply this election is disputed. That could be enough if they're going to click wrap crap. There's them once again with that article defending. Joe Biden says he will seek to unify the country in his victory speech as projected president-elect of the United States. Quote, seek to unify, unquote. Seek to unify. You know what that means? You know what that's soft speak for? They're acting like, oh, it's unity 2020, right? It's freaking federal. It's like nationalize. Like, you'd think Trump's bad for nationalism, like, compared to the outside world. These people want to nationalize the inside world. They want to make it so that national mask mandates, things like that. They want federal ID, federal police, like potentially stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe they won't do federal police. Maybe they'll do federal police and privatize police forces in certain areas and whatever bizarre crap that they want, you know? The thing is there's just so much in a cloud of smoke to do with this left-sided campaign of all this radicalism they want to push, that it's like, it's really creepy of like, what are they going to do? You know, it's like, oh yeah, I imagine that a lot of people on the left must have their like dreamy fantasy ideas. I did back in the day, but I mean, seriously, you need to question your intellect if you still think that like there's dreamy fantasy crap. Like, more chances than not, the peg's not going to land on your idea of what should have been. Okay, maybe they can program you in the meantime to accept their peg. That might be what they do. They're usually fairly good at that, at least with 51+% of the people. But it's not going to be. You could go look, like how they say socialism, communism's never worked, all that, whatever, and whatever way, shape, or form. It's because they promise you these utopian ideas, and then they turn around and sling you a dystopia instead. And that's exactly what we're seeing. You know, it's like, oh, universal basic income. I've been a proponent of universal basic income since I don't even know if that term even existed. Like, I invented universal basic income as far as my mind's concerned. Like, I came up with it in my own head back in the day when I was homeless on food stamps, and I thought, why wouldn't there be like a couple hundred, few $100, whatever a month that everybody could just get? And that way it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm on food stamps. It would be like, oh, even the rich people up the street or whatever, they all get that same thing dropped in their bank account so that it's a fair offset, you know? And that way nobody ever goes hungry, nothing like that. Nobody can complain. We all get this like universal basic income. I didn't call it that like when I would talk about it or anything, but it was the same exact idea. And I'm sure I wasn't even the first person to think of that. But I mean, it just to say like that was a thing where I was walking around scratching my head asking people like, why don't we just do it? It seems like it'd be so simple and da-da-da-da-da, you know? And I still think to a certain degree something along those lines on a really basic, universal basic type of idea might not be the worst idea. But at this point, what these radicals are offering, I don't want anything to do with. I'd rather, you know, fight for food stamps or whatever, like whatever we got to do to, I mean, I don't want to see anybody go hungry. I don't want to see any of that whatsoever. And I want to get that stuff unimpeded to people for sure. But as far as a universal thing, that on that level specifically, that's where I would just rather see it to where, you know, you have to actually go out and apply for it. That's, I think, what I mean more by fight for things and stuff like that, to a pull system instead of a push system. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Mehoff, will become America's first second gentleman. Oh, I could say really bad things. Will become, huh? I thought, oh, now Twitter's letting it go now. Vice President-elect come. He'll also become the first gentleman, won't he? As soon as that corpse finally decomposes that they're pitting in there, then they'll pit her in place. Kamala Harris makes history as the first female black and Asian American vice president-elect. What about Indian? I thought her hometown was Indian, and aren't they from the Jamaica area? Isn't she just from everywhere? Special counsel everywhere but America, you know? Special counsel has opened an investigation into Trump's use of the White House for campaign-related activities, Reuters reports. Of course they have. Good. Investigate them. You know what I mean? Investigate both sides. Tell me what you come back with. Come back with the truth, please. Can you imagine that? A president, campaign-related activities from his own White House. I mean, whatever. I think he should definitely be careful about that. Like, there should be some lines drawn there, but on one hand, it is like, you know, he is the president, and that is where he resides, so he should have some liberties, I would think. I haven't dug into that, but I always have been curious about that. And it seems like they've already, whenever he comes close to crossing any lines, they turn up the heat on him. So I'd be surprised if he was able to get away with anything that he shouldn't have in there over the time. They're probably just trying to make it look like there's some type of investigation going on him again. As if he didn't have enough of that throughout his presidency that turned up nothing, which I'm sure Twitter was totally reporting on the whole time. How MSNBC's Steve whatever became the election chart throb. More worthless news. President Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, tests positive for COVID-19. Oh, thanks for telling us, Twitter. How many of your staff has tested positive? Who's tested positive? We all need to know. You know, oh, more negative news surrounding the White House. Who gives a shit? Give me a break. What to know about the projected FLOTUS-elect Dr. Jill Biden? That she always wears that mask over her fucking pie hole? What? Right next to nobody? Just virtue signaling? Does she really? I would like to see random shots of her throughout the day. Does she really just continue to wear a mask all day? Like, I'd honestly hope not, and I don't think she does. You know what I mean? And here they are like, oh, you know, we're such a close relationship. We'll wear this mask to virtue signal, whole politicized thing. Nazis. Nazis. What a Joe Biden president could mean for the U.S., Ireland, and Brexit. Oh, we really need a double trend on that, huh? Anyway, thanks for watching.